All right, on the dailies this morning, there's one photo that's definitely making headlines, and that's the picture of a former president or retired president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and his four-turned ally, or I don't know how to describe it, but him with that handshake with the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, while former CS, now deputy party leader of the Jubilee Party, Fred Matiang'i, is looking on. And everyone is talking about this. It's the biggest photo on the front page of the People Daily. Let's start from there. People Daily has it given it quite some prominence there on the front page. Ameandika Uhuru Gachagua meeting boosts opposition unity push. Asema sending signals. It's a question they're asking. This story is on page 4. Tuone wanazungumzia nini. And on page 4, anasema encounter is the first visible sign of the two leaders sharing a cordial public moment since the 2022 elections, where they found themselves on opposing political sides. And I can tell you, it was bad before as we were heading towards the 2022 elections. The kind of things that Rigathi Gachagua was saying about President Uhuru Kenyatta. He was then president while he was campaigning for William Ruto. And the kind of things they said, wakimwambia ende nyumbani atoke, taki yeye ni nani, mpaka wanasema wengine wanasema tutakuja huko Ishaweri, sijui tufanye nini kwa gate ya mama. You know, a lot of things happened. It should be noted that these two gentlemen have worked together before. At some point, Rigathi Gachagua was Uhuru Kenyatta's PA, we're made to understand. But this was way early in Uhuru Kenyatta's political career, while he was still serving as a minister. Now, finally, and we've been seeing this talks on most dailies for a while now, that there's a possibility that Uhuru Kenyatta might work with Rigathi Gachagua towards 2027 elections. Well, finally they met. They were in the same space for the first time. We've never seen them before. So Amiketi hapo, even at the funeral of this former senator who passed on yesterday, who was being buried yesterday, they were sitting there on the front line, side by side, Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua. Na sijui kwa nini waliwaweka hao pamoja. Because the other leaders hapo, Kalonzo Musyoka was there, Fred Matiang'i, Martha Karua, lakini waliweka Uhuru Kenyatta, Rigathi Gachagua pamoja.
Ni marafiki kwani?
Hapo wanajaribu kutuambia nini. So that's the big headline on the People Daily. Is this an indication? Are they sending signals? That's a question being asked on the front page of this paper.
No enemies in politics.
Yeah.
That's the lesson of the day, moral of the story.
Yes. Akunanga, wanaitwaje? Mahasidi.
Maadui
ama maadui.
Potato.
That one. Out of order, why Wetangula is courting fresh trouble is another story on page 3. And this one talks about the fact that Azimio has actually written to the House and they wanted to change the arrangement of the House leadership. But Speaker Moses Wetangula dismissed that move. Now, quite a number of MPs are saying he's out of order. He should be removed as Speaker. That's the story on page 3 of this paper. That's the People Daily this morning.
All right, that story about Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, and of course Rigathi Gachagua is the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Signs of a handshake, they say, elusive truce. They were close political allies for years until the 2022 presidential campaigns drove a wedge between them, with the arrest of Rigathi Gachagua on corruption charges, escalating the conflict with then outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta. During the inauguration of William Ruto as President, Gachagua, then Deputy President-elect, gave Kenyatta a public dressing down. But so much water has gone under the bridge since. Yesterday, the two friends turned foes shared a platform for the first time in a long while, and they look so happy together. Now, what they said has been quoted here by the Daily Nation. Retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm listening to the ground from my home in Ishaweri. The ground is saying that people should unite. They do not want to hear about greed for political seats. DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua, on the other hand, said, who said we can never come together again? He, Kenyatta, is my elder brother and my kinsman, with whom I have a history that Ruto intended to taint. Now, it's President William Ruto intended to taint. And of course, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka said, there are certain wings of the government that never imagined this could happen. They will not be amused. They might even send KRA to harass you. That is former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that's the main story. It has been covered extensively on page 4 and 5, elusive truths. You can take a look at it.
One of the people who is the biggest critic, perhaps, of President Uhuru Kenyatta is one Robert Alai, the MC of Kileleshwa. Every tweet that he puts out there he always has to throw a jab at Uhuru Kenyatta, even when it's not linked to Uhuru Kenyatta. Yeah. He'll be here on this show today. Atuambia anaonaje urafiki huu wa sasa.
Court relief for workers on SHA. The High Court has temporarily barred the Social Health Authority from locking out workers from accessing treatment in hospitals over delayed remittances by employers. Now, the system automatically blocks access to healthcare if employers fail to remit deductions, but the court ruled that the policy violates employees' right to healthcare after contributions have already been deducted. So if your employer refuses to remit your SHA payment, then that's not on you. That's on your employer. You'll still get treatment according to court. And the date every month when employers must remit their employees' contribution to the insurance fund is the 9th of every month. Early Easter, school holidays, rampant pressures on hoteliers, travel agencies. Actually, even flight prices have really skyrocketed. I was trying to book this morning because actually the best time to book a flight is between 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. I'm giving you a secret. If you want to travel, the best time to book a flight is between actually 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Zisha Panda, everybody's trying to book a flight to go different places. Kisumu, Mombasa, wapi across the country. Happy Easter in advance. On the back page of the Daily Nation, a 48-team lineup complete. 2026 FIFA World Cup, 4-time winners Italy failed to qualify for the third successive time. And that's the Daily Nation this morning. All
right. From the Daily Nation, let's take a look at the Star. Today, same photo there of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, they've used actually 3 photos on the front page of this Star of President Uhuru Kenyatta with that encounter with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Ametumia ile picha ya handshake, Matiang'i akiangalia, wameketi pamoja side by side, sharing some light moments. Kuna hata ile hug ile, you know, bro, hey, it's been a while. Where have you been? Yeah? So definitely this is a picture of the day. Okay, from yesterday. But they juxtapose it with what was happening to President William Ruto. He was at State House, where he hosted 5,000 members of the Maendeleo Wanawake organization. So anasema, while these people are doing this, this gentleman was doing this. Ruto meets women as Gachagua, Uhuru unite in Kirinyaga. And that's a big talking point. We'll be talking to panelists this morning on State of the Nation, just to see, okay, fine, what does it mean if at all Uhuru Kenyatta could decide to work with Rigathi Gachagua? Na alisema jana, and this is the retired president, ate anasikiza ground. Unajua kusikiza ground ni ya nani? Kuna ile chama ya kusikiza ground. Alisema ate anasikiza ground. Yeah. That's a very heavy statement coming from the retired president. Ati anasikiza ground. It's almost like saying 2-term or 1-term. Whichever.
No, si kila mtu anasikiza ground, honestly. Even the youth that come here, we usually ask them what's happening in the ground.
You know,
what does the ground say?
That's the motto of the DCP party.
Sasa now that is where the problem is. Because everybody literally anafaa kuwa anasikiza ground.
So,
read the room, literally.
Yeah. See the way we say this is a home of untold stories.
Yes.
Ukisikia mtu mwingine akisema ni home of untold stories huko nje, si utashangaa, see that is associated with us.
Hii story ni yetu wewe.
Wetu ndo umeshika hiyo. Anyway, on the other hand, the people are asking that kwani State House siku hizi tu ni kuhost watu 5,000 women, but anyway, that's what the president does. But the main story is about rot, rats and raw sewage inside broken prison system. Reports paints grim picture of neglect across facilities. No one really cares about the state of our penal institutions.
Yeah.
The prisons, ukienda kuingine, nasikia kama ukienda ile ya Kisumu inaitwaje? Kodiaga prison, nasikia ukienda huko, ukitoka huko, you're traumatized for life. Because the situation there, and some of these buildings, like the Committee prison is one of the oldest prisons in Kenya. Ilikuwa hata siku za wakoloni. And those buildings, some of them have never been changed. So there's nothing like modern prison buildings. Most of them were colonial structures, and they're still there right now. So kumbe zimejaa panya na raw sewage pia inapita tu hapo. And that becomes your lifestyle. Chunga sana usiende jela tafadhali. Na
nashindwa kwani interior ameenda ni kama hiyo Kodiaga anajua hadi Kodiaga iko.
That story about governors and their refusal to appear before the Senate also features on the front page of this paper. Under the headline, governors risk losing their jobs for snubbing Senate summons. Hii story iko huku ndani page 7. So watu wamesema they risk arrest, sawa wanasema they risk. Senators want defiant county chiefs declared unfit to hold public office in new explosive accountability crackdown. Wanawashika hadi mashati, yani imeharibika sasa, ni kubaya. Yes, so that's the main headline. Huku ndani, now there are more photos from Kirinyaga where President Uhuru Kenyatta na Rigathi Gachagua walikuwa. Sasa Rigathi hapa amebeba katoto kadogo. Alafu next ni Uhuru Kenyatta, nakwambia. Politics, very interesting. On the back page, matters football and other local sports, and that's the Star. This Thursday, April the 2nd, grab yourself a copy of this paper for only 60 shillings here in Kenya.
All right, the same photo is also on the front page of Taifa Leo this morning. Handshake ya Ruto na Gachagua yanukia. Ni habari tu katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili, but that's not the main story. The main story here talks about ndoto telezi ya Kenya Kwanza. Wanaita mkwamo, huku baadhi ya vyama shirika kama vile PAA na Maendeleo Chapchap vikisema havitawania viti uchaguzi mwaka ujao. Ford K kimekataa katakata kufuata agizo la kumezwa na UDA. ANC cha Mdavadi kilikuwa cha kwanza kusalimu amri. Lakini ANC iliambiwa wewe go back to that party. What happened? Did they go back?
Waliambiwa na sasa kama wataki
na court said hapana, we did not.
Walisema haturudi huko, that house tulifunga. Haturudi. The court can order you to go back. Akana si haturudi. Si tushahama.
Juhudi za UDA kumeza vyama tanzu za pingwa vikali. Baadhi ya vyama vikikaa ngumu tayari kuwania mwaka 2027. But I'm really interested to follow up on what happened with ANC even after they were told that, you know, they should not match with UDA. Interesting. Vidokezo zaidi, wahanga 1200 wataka pesa za damu. Wengi wamejitokeza kutaka fidia ya wahanga wa maandamano. Gikomba pia bado inazungumziwa hapa, ni mwisho wa lami, ubomoaji wa soko hilo kupisha sura mpya. Masaibu tele ya walimu waliostaafu pia imezungumziwa katika ukurasa wa 3. Inasema kwamba maelfu ya waliostaafu kuanzia mwaka 2024 hawajapata pensheni. Kule juu, likizo ya shule ya nyonya ladha ya Pasaka. Sekta ya utalii hasa pwani yapata pigo baada ya likizo kugongana na sikukuu ya Pasaka. Waamerika wengi wakataa vita nchini Iran, ni habari nyingine katika ukurasa wa 8. Taifa Leo.
All right. Kutoka kwa Taifa Leo tuangazie gazeti la The Standard. I think this is the only paper that does not have that photo on the front page. Wanazungumzia masuala ya ufisadi under the headline Haven of Corruption. A blistering United States trade reporters cast the William Ruto-led government as a corruption-riddled market where bribes, opaque procurement and regulatory hurdles lock out fair competition, piling pressure on Kenya as it pursues a high-stakes bilateral deal with Washington. Despite rising trade volumes, a warning signals a hard line from the Trump administration, with sweeping reforms likely to be demanded before any agreement is sealed. The story is on page 4. Currently, the balance of trade, U.S. exports to Kenya up by 28.5%. Kenya, on the other hand, exports to the U.S. up by 16.5%, but they said now this balance of trade is at risk given the kind of reports about the level of corruption in this administration currently. So you can read more on this on page 4 of this paper. Page 4, yes. Trump administration exposes Kenya's rot ahead of trade deal. Now, what will happen? We do not know. But there's a very interesting story on page 3 of the Standard. They talk about Gen Zs choosing to save over helping parents. And this is a survey. Nyi mnazungumzia black tax, ni millennials na Gen X na wengineo. Gen Z wamesema not us. Sio sisi. Sisi hatasumbukana hiyo. Wamesema Kenya's Gen Zs, unlike millennials, have refused to pay black tax and are instead saving for retirement. This is a new study. It reveals that millennials could be the last generation to support parents and other dependents. The report says the sandwich generation suffers a constrained income as a result of supporting relatives. So if at all you are there as a millennial and you think that your retirement plan ni wale watoto umepata.
Correct.
Ati unangoja uko na watoto 6 ama unataka kuongeza ndio ati ukue safe once you turn 60.
Kabisa.
Utaumia. Hao watoto hawatakusaidia. Wamesema pesa wanatafuta ni yao.
Yes. Interesting time to be alive.
I tell you, that one, but it's so true. Yeah. How Gen Z, they don't really care.
Good for them. In fact, sasa ukiuliza mtu kwani ujengei mzazi, anakuambia walikuwa wapi kujenga.
We should encourage them. That story about governors features on page 7 of this paper. 11 governors have snubbed Senate summons and they've already been fined 500,000 shillings each. Do you know they really don't care?
Yeah.
They'll just pay from the county coffers.
Actually, there's some who paid already.
Unalipa tu kutoka kwa county. Sini governor ameambiwa. Inalipwa tu. Hiyo si shida. And I think that's the frustration that's now showing with the senators. Wanajaribu kuwa fine, wanajaribu kuwatumia polisi, sasa wanawaendea hao wenyewe wanashika mashati. Yesterday karibu wapigane ngumi. Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna na huyo governor wa Samburu. There are some videos, not the one we have. I've seen other videos. Mahali walikuwa shika ngumi hivi. We. Kashati kangetembea. People want united, Uhuru tells opposition. Hiyo picha ambayo iko kwa magazeti yote pale page 6 of the Standard. And on the back page, it's all dance for DR Congo as Italy fail again. Italy failed to qualify for the World Cup. Delirious football fans took to the streets of the capital Kinshasa and danced into the night in the rain after the Democratic Republic of Congo reached the World Cup for the first time in 52 years. So DRC wako World Cup. DRC hata wajui hiyo country, they don't know some corners of the country, but wamefika World Cup. Sisi hata stadium ndio tunangangana kujenga. Meanwhile Italy wako. So we'll be watching the World Cup and watching DRC na tunawa celebrate. Wao mnafikiria DRC wako nyuma sana. Batoto ba Mungu. And that's the Standard today.
All right. Business Daily finally. Payslip low as Mbadi holds back tax cut plan. You remember sometime in February we were telling you, oh, if you're earning 50,000 and below, now tax yapunguzwa, there's a way you're going to enjoy. Now something is happening. The Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has walked back on an earlier promise of income tax cuts before the end of the current financial year, dealing a blow to more than 1 million salaried workers who anticipated cautions from the rising cost of living. There's over 1 million. It's 1.36 million Kenyans, salaried workers who are earning below 50,000. So Mr. Mbadi, on February 9th, promised that salaried workers earning 50,000 Kenya shillings and below would enjoy income tax cuts of between 731 shillings and 2,127 under proposed changes to payee tax brackets that was aimed at cushioning low-income earners from inflation. Hiyo ni kama ilikuwa story jaba.
Kama walikuwa umeipangia hiyo pole.
Hiyo ilikuwa story yenye iko page 2. You can read more about it on the Business Daily. It's very interesting. Ndindi Nyoro and Thika MP buy KQ shares amid invested deal talks. That's another story on page 2. They say 2 members of parliament have bought stakes in the national carrier Kenya Airways amid ongoing talks to bring in new investors to boost the airline's fortunes, regulatory failings for February 2026 show. On the ticker, US flags persistent tender fraud customs barriers in Kenya. Why court approved liquidation of collapsed Explico insurance. And of course, shilling hits $132 on Iran war. Wow, the shilling's average exchange rate against the dollar has touched the 130 level for the first time since August 2024 on the back of a gradual depreciation since the Strait of the Iran war at the end of February. The Strait of Hormuz war, Strait of Iran war at the end of February. Interesting, like every time we go in a crisis, the shilling has to
But the shilling has curiously remained very strong.
Yes.
At 130, 129. Remember last around 2022 during elections, it was really fluctuating from 120 kidogo in a panda 125. But after the elections, it shot up to 165. Yeah, then it went down to 129 and it's stabilized there for quite a while. 2-3 years now. Mpaka World Cup wanauliza, at World Cup, World Bank. That one, World Bank. They actually raised an issue. They said that that is not natural. But anyway. Let's cross over now and take a look at what's headlining across the border in Uganda. The Daily Monitor talks about national ID delays sparking citizens' fury. So the National Identification and Registration Authority has pinned the challenge on soaring demand and operational adjustments. Kwa hivyo kuna shida tu kama ile tu, delayed ID issuance. But there's another story hapa juu. There's a journalist who's been taken to court for declaring the First Lady dead. It's called Arnold Anthony Mokose. He was charged with publishing false information announcing the death of First Lady Janet Museveni.
See, it was Fool's Day yesterday.
He appeared before Grade 1 Magistrate Ivan Maloba in Kampala and he denied the charges. He did not write yesterday, but yesterday ndo alikuwa kotini.
Oh, hey.
Kuna mambo ingine usicheze nayo. Lakini of course, even in Kenya, they do a lot of that. Anyway, that's a Daily Monitor. Take a look at the other paper. That's the New Vision, still in Uganda. Government plans tough law on foreign funding. That's a big story. But pale chini kuna story kama ile ilikuwa pale bungeni in Uganda. Mayor and engineer fight over traders eviction from streets. Kama saa ile ya Gikomba, upate governor pale Sakaja wanatandikana na engineer pale, wanashikana mashati proper. Politics has gone to that. Yeah, it has come to that. Sasa ni hakuna rules. Sasa ni kushikana mashati. Kaende. That's in Uganda. In Tanzania, the citizen fuel price outcry, of course, what is happening in Iran. The February 28 US-Israeli invasion of Iran and the disruption to petroleum supply chain that followed is hitting nearly all sectors of Tanzania's economy, with transport operators now calling for immediate fare adjustments after a historic rise in fuel prices. Kia hii. The price of a litre of petrol in Dar es Salaam is now 3,820. Ukienda hapo na shilingi 10,000 unapata lita zako 3. Hata itaja. Haitafika lita 3. 3,820 for a litre of petrol. Yeah. In Bukoba, it's already 4,070. So that's the main story on The Citizen. On the Mwananchi, habari ile bei ya mafuta ya ng'ata, wakati bei za petroli dizeli zikipaa, wasafirishaji waomba nauli zibadilike. LATRA ya waonya, bunge la ingilia kati, wananchi waeleza maumivu kule Tanzania. Turejea hapa nyumbani tuangalie karakacha, na karakacha ya kwanza ni ile